Hello everyone. I thought for once, for a little change of pace, I'd actually have a video with my face in it. Now, I've been going over this picture that I'm working on now, and I thought this would be a good perspective to show people what size that I work in. Because I know a lot of people are saying, well, how big is the pictures you work on? And this will show you with this Yul Brenner Egyptian that I'm working on, just how big of a scale I work in. I do work in usually sheets of smooth Bristol that are 18 by 24 inches. If I wanted to make prints, I could always scale it down to 11 by 17, which would actually make it really crisp. And as I was saying before, I always will work on these shaded areas, as you can see here and here, whenever I want to break from the harder details. And I bounce all over the place. I like to bounce all over the place. I can't just start at one place and slowly work my way out, or just do all the dark areas and then fill in everything else. I like to bounce around because there's different things that interest me at different times on the piece. Sometimes I feel like doing something really tedious in a very small area for a long period of time, but other times I just want to get a big chunk of area done, because white paper is intimidating and it does make you feel a little bit better when you put some ink down. So I will get to a point sometimes, like with this piece, where I really started putting in a lot more background. And as you can see, I start on the silhouette of him. I made that dark, and then I will slowly work my grade from values from almost 100% black to probably over here will end up being a 50% gray. Not as light as this. It'll eventually look more like over here, because I got to push this back. Because right now, this seems even with him. So I'll make this darker to push it into the background. And that's something I'll do towards the end of a piece, is once it's done and I've used the reference material as much as I can, I will actually go through and increase the values, make some places like right here darker, and so I can start pulling things out. Like I want to make sure his hands look like they're popping off the page. So I will have to add contrast that's not in the original reference material, just to make things stick out like they should. And then you also do things with the border, where the border's behind him here and behind him here. That makes the arm, where it breaks the border here, it breaks the border here, come forward. And also the fact that the border's behind him up here, that'll put him in front of the border. So those are little tricks you can do. Also, how bold the lines are, and I'll have bolder lines silhouetting him in the areas that I want to come out. And then I'll have lighter lines in the areas I want back. So there's a little tricks you can do, and you really have to play with it, because once you use reference material and you're done with reference material, it doesn't always translate to a good design, and you don't always have all the contrast that you really need. So you're going to have to go back through at the end and really look at it and go, all right, do I have the depth in it and the contrast that I need to make the picture really pop off the page? Because you want to make sure that it looks good from a distance and up close. So those are some things to think about, because, especially if your reference material is color, the colors alone will create contrast and create depth. So when you're working in black and white and you don't have those colors to support the depth, you might have to create depth and create more contrast than what your original material had. So those are all things to consider, because you can take any reference material and turn it into a black and white ink, but you're going to have to change it to make it a good design. So always keep in mind the design aspect of your illustration. So that's something I'm going to try to get some of it done today, and then I'll probably post a picture later.